Now we shall study here the nucleoneutron scattering. Now our understanding of the physical processes in the microscopic realm, that is in the atomic and subatomic region, is largely based on quantum theory of scattering. It is the most straightforward method of studying the interactions between the subatomic particles, and in which the scattering experiment is performed, in which a beam of particles with known characteristic impinges upon a target particle which is at rest, and after scattering again the incident particles or projectiles goes to the modified free state, and after that when the projectiles are gathered at the detector, from that the scattering cross section is measured, and scattering cross section is a convenient meeting point between the theory and the experiment. Theoretically, we deduce expression for the scattering cross section, find its value, and experimental value is there. If these two match quite well with each other, then the theory is good. Now, in most of the scattering experiments, it is the indirect method. What is happening we don't know inside the system, and we perform it. What is happening inside the system we want to know, then we have to perform the scattering experiment. Now here we first study the NP scattering, in which a photon is fixed because the photon has a longer lifetime. So the photon is the target and neutron has a very small lifetime, so neutrons are taken as the projectiles. Now NP scattering and PP scattering or NN scattering. Now in case of NP scattering, it is easier to handle theoretically because of the absence of the electromagnetic interaction, only nuclear interaction is there. Similarly for NN scattering also, no electromagnetic interaction is there, but it is very difficult to perform the NN interaction or NN scattering because due to this very small lifetime of the neutrons. But it is very easier to perform the photon-photon experiment because photon has a very longer lifetime. Photon is target, photon is the projectile, but it is very difficult to handle theoretically because in case of photon-photon scattering, two potentials are involved. The potential scattering is taking place under the combined influence of the electromagnetic and the nuclear interaction. So theoretically, whenever the electromagnetic interaction is involved, that is the Coulomb potential is involved, the theory is very, very difficult. Now here we take the partial wave analysis of the neutron-photon scattering, in which we consider that a beam of neutron is coming from a long distance, that is a collimated beam of neutron. So if the beam is collimated, then we consider that it is a plane wave, that is a ray is coming from a long distance. So its wavefront is considered as a plane wavefront. A beam of neutron is coming with a known energy and a proton is target here fixed. Now initially, as we know that the range of the nuclear force is very small, before entering into the range of the nuclear force, the neutron beam, it behaves as a free particle. Now when it comes under the action of the nuclear force, the particle is scattered. Now then again, outside the range of nuclear force is very small range. So it again goes to the modified free state. This here also the neutron is free, but it is called the modified free state. Modified free state. Because it comes again into the behaves as a free particle, but the wave function is modified by the action of this potential. So it is called the modified free state. It carries all the information regarding the potential through which it is scattered, and here it is purely free state. Now, actually the beam of neutron here, it has an infinite dimension. That means literally it is not infinite, but the cross section of the beam of the neutrons is quite larger compared to the range of the nuclear force. So here all the angular momentums are involved. Angular momentum starting from n equal to 0 to infinity. All angular momentums are involved in this incident beam. Now, the effect of the angular momentum is to keep the particles apart. That means it is a repulsive force. Now, if we consider a very slow neutron, low energy neutron, then only the L equal to 0 partial will be effective, because they cannot reach the high angular momentum neutrons. In case of low energy scattering, they cannot reach within the range of the nuclear force. Now, if it is the impact parameter, suppose this is the center of the photon, this is the impact parameter, because here in quantum mechanical problem, this is the impact parameter. Impact parameter. Impact parameter means the distance of closest approach. Now, in case of quantum mechanical scattering, suppose one is neutron and this photon, so both the particles of say mass m, if the two particles of mass m collide with each other, then it can be considered, the problem may be considered as the scattering of a particle of mass m by 2, reduced mass of these two particles. Scattering of a particle of mass m by 2 from a fixed scattering center. So here we treat this two-body problem as the scattering of a particle of reduced mass, this m by 2, from a fixed center. That means the two-body problem will be reduced into a one-body problem. Now, therefore, the quantum mechanical problem dealing with the collision in the center of mass system between two particles of mass m of mass m is equivalent to the problem of a collision between a particle of mass m by 2, reduced mass, and a fixed scattering center. Now here you consider the scattering between a neutron and a proton at rest. The proton is there at rest and a neutron is coming as a projectile. Let such a neutron approaches a proton at rest with energy neutron energy is half mn v square. This is the kinetic energy of the neutron moving with the velocity v. With this energy, the neutron approaches the proton. Let the impact parameter be b. B is the impact parameter, distance of closest approach of the neutron. Then its angular momentum what will be the angular momentum of that neutron? The angular momentum is, now say capital L is equal to say mn v linear momentum multiplied by this radial distance. Okay, this is the angular momentum of the neutron. And what is mv? This is p. Neutron momentum is v. From de Broglie's hypothesis, we know that p is equal to h by lambda. That time the h is with the h cross h by 2 pi lambda by 2 pi, and it is defined by lambda cross into b. Okay. Now we know that quantum mechanically, we know that what is the value of L square? Quantum mechanically, L into L plus 1 into h cross square, L into L plus 1 h cross square. This is the value of L square, angular momentum, where L is an integer. L is taking the value 0, 1, 2, 3, not any fraction, where L is an integer. Now your L is this one. Now if you substitute the value of L in this equation, that is L equal to h cross by lambda cross into b, then you find the value of b, impact parameter, in terms of the angular momentum L. Now hence of angular momentum L, the impact parameter is what will be the value of impact parameter? That will be b equal to, b is approximately equal to L into L plus 1 square root into lambda cross. Therefore, now the impact parameter, distance of closest approach, which neutron with a particular angular momentum reaches the range of the force, that depends on the value of L. If the value of L is larger, then it may not reach within the range of the force. Now therefore, for a given neutron energy, for a given neutron energy, only those neutrons are scattered whose quantum number here is given by that is L into L plus 1 lambda cross square is less than Rn square. Rn is the range of the nuclear force. Rn, this is the range of nuclear force. That means if this impact parameter is less than this Rn, then only the scattering will take place, otherwise it passes freely without any scattering. Now therefore, we have to consider only those angular momentum for a particular range of the force or with the energy of the incident particle for which the scattering will take place. Now, as the neutron beam is coming from a large distance, collimated beam, so it represents a plane wave, and plane wave contains all the angular momentum starting from 0 to infinity. And if we consider very low energy scattering, very slow neutron, then only it is sufficient to study only the L equal to 0 case, that is SOF scattering. The higher angular momentum will not come within the range of the force. Now, therefore, the neutron beam is represented by a plane wave which contains all the angular momentum starting from 0 to infinity. Thus the wave function describing a beam of particles here neutron of momentum H cross K. H cross K is the momentum in the z direction. We consider that the neutron beam is coming along the z direction, a plane wave coming along the z direction can be expressed as power I k z. This is the plane wave along the z direction. Otherwise, it to the power I k dot r, and that is equal to e to the power I k r cos theta. Z is equal to r cos theta, and if we expand it in terms of all angular momentums, it is partial wave expansion. It is L equal to 0 to infinity I to the power L 12 plus 1 j L k r p L cos theta. PL cos theta, Legendre polynomial, which describes the angular part, and this is the spherical Bessel function. This mod square of this represents the probability of finding at a distance r. So this is the partial wave expansion of the plane wave, where this spherical Bessel function represents the probability at a distance r of a neutron of angular momentum L. Now if we consider the very slow neutron, so at low energies, it will be sufficient to study only the L equal to 0 term. To study the L equal to 0 term, because other terms will not be come into play, because as their impact parameter will be larger, we are considering the very low energy, that is 0 to 15 MeV, low energy scattering. Now therefore, as we are concentrating on the S-wave scattering, that is L equal to 0 scattering, so we write the L equal to wave function for the L equal to 0. The L equal to 0 part of the wave function, L equal to 0 part of the wave function, if we put L equal to 0 here, then what we get? This 1 here, then you get J0, and this is 1. P0 cos theta is 1. Now what is the value of J0? Spherical Bessel function, that is sin J0x is sin x by x. So here you get the wave function is sin kr by kr. Now therefore, the L equal to 0 part of the wave function is written as, or is obtained as, say incident wave function psi 0, represent 0 stands for L equal to 0, that is J0 kr, that is sin kr by kr. If we write it in this way in terms of exponential, then we get twice I kr e to the power I kr minus e to the power minus I kr. So sin kr is 1 by twice pi e to the power I kr minus e to the power minus I kr. Now suppose you are putting equation number 1. Now the term e to the power I kr represents an outgoing wave, and e to the power minus I kr represents an incoming wave. Now whenever the scattering is taking place from a scattering center, then what happens? Only the outgoing part of the wave will be affected, Because according to Huygens theory, what we know, suppose the neutron beam is coming, a free particle is coming, beam, a wave function is coming, and this is the obstruction, the scattering center is here. Now, according to Huygens theory, any obstruction in the path of the wave is the source of secondary electrons. Therefore, from here you get the scattered spherical waves. So, the total scattered wave function, this is the initial wave function psi in, and here you get psi scattered. The scattered wave function in generally has the form that e to the power I k z plus f of theta phi scattering amplitude, how much portion of the wave is scattered, and e to the power I k r by r. It represents a spherical wave because here from the scattering center it is a source of secondary electrons. Spherical waves will be generated. Now, e to the power I k r by r, what will be the probability of this? This is 1 and you get 1 by r square. So, intensity decreases as 1 by r square. Okay. So, this is the general form, this is the scattering amplitude, and it is directly related with the experimentally measured quantity that is called the scattering cross section. Now, so this is our wave function for L equal to 0. Now, if the, and this is the scattering center, very low energy scattering is taking place. Now only the outgoing part will be affected, this one. So here outside the range of scattering at this point here, only this will be affected, that is e to the power I k r, and what will be there, plus some phase will be changed due to the action of the potential, because here we consider the elastic scattering, as there is no absorption and production of particles, that is the number of particles coming will be equal to the number of particles that is scattered. So in that case, the elastic scattering is taking place, no absorption of particle is there or no creation is there. So the amplitude remains same, only the change which will take place due to the action of the potential, that is its phase will be changed. If it is a sufficiently strong potential, it will drag the wave function inside it, and if it is a repulsive potential, it is drive out the wave function. And what kind of potential exists here? The phase shift tells you. If the phase shift, you get a negative phase shift, then you get a repulsive potential, and if the positive phase shift is there, then you get the attractive potential. Now therefore, as the elastic scattering is taking place, there is no absorption and creation of particles, then there will be only change in the phase in the outgoing part of the wave, e to the power I k r. Now let us consider that we suppose that the outgoing part experiences a phase shift say twice delta 0. 2 delta 0 phase shift will be there in the outgoing part of the wave function. Then the scattered wave function becomes, this is the incident wave, then the scattered wave becomes, then the scattered wave becomes psi 0, that is the scattered wave, it becomes e to the power, only there is a change here, e to the power I kr plus twice delta 0 minus e to the power minus I kr by twice I k. This is the scattered wave function and this is the incident one. Now our initial beam is coming, that is e to the power ikz, and the energy is so low that only the L equal to 0 part is affected. Now therefore in the scattered beam, what will be there? All angular momentum will be there, and also this part will be there. This part is affected. Other angular momentum L equal to 1, 2, 3, they are not affected. They pass as it is freely. So the new total wave function outside the scattering potential, the new total wave function outside the scattering potential is the psi, the new total scattered wave function. This is e to the power I kz. It will be there. It is the incident beam. Now, from this incident beam, which contains angular momentum from L equal to 0 to infinity, L equal to 0 part will be affected. We have excluded it. So, now from here, the L equal to 0 part is excluded. Therefore, you have to subtract from here the L equal to 0 part, which is e to the power I kr minus e to the power minus I kr by twice I kr. This is our L equal to 0 part. That means it is taking sum over L equal to 0 to infinity. 0 part is excluded. Now here it is L equal to 1 to infinity minus this one, and the scattered part is this one plus e to the power I kr plus twice delta 0 minus e to the power minus I kr by twice I kr. Okay. Now it is e to the power I k z plus e to the power I kr plus delta 0 by kr into sin delta 0. If we solve it, from this will cancel. Now e to the power I kr plus delta 0, if you take common, then here you get sin kr and this kr part is here. So this is the total scattered wave function. Now therefore we get e to the power I kr, it is going as e to the power I kr in the free state, and modified free state is like this. So here also it is moving like e to the power I kr, only a phase change is there, but its amplitude is changed by this amount. Okay, e to the power I kr by kr, but the amplitude is changed by this amount, sin delta 0. Now the second term in the equation number 3, this one. The second term in equation 3 represents a wave of amplitude sin delta 0 by kr. This is the amplitude of that wave moving away from the scattering center. Moving away from scattering center. Now therefore, the number of scattered particles which pass through a sphere of radius r enclosing the scattering center are in the range of the nuclear force. With that radius, if we draw a sphere around the scattering center, enclosing the scattering center, per second, what will be the number of scattered particles in SC, that is the square of the amplitude sin square delta 0 by k square r square multiplied by the area of the sphere 4 pi r square into the velocity of the particle. That means this is our range of the nuclear force. So here if we consider a sphere, so number of particles passing through the sphere is this one. And what is the number of incident particles? Generally we represent the incident wave as a plane wave, e to the power ikr. If we consider a plane wave, then it represents a single particle, e to the power ikr or e to the power ikz. Then what will be the mod square of this? This is unity, psi star psi. So multiplied by the velocity of the particle v, so v will be the incident flux. So incident flux is v is the velocity of the particle. Therefore v is the incident flux and the scattered flux is this one from the potential range. Therefore the S wave scattering cross section, the S wave scattering cross section is sigma 0. Scattering cross section is number of scattered particles divided by the incident flux, the number of scattered flux by incident flux. That is this one sin square delta 0 by k square r square into 4 pi r square. V will cancel in both the cases. R square will cancel, so you get 4 pi by a square sine square delta L. That means the scattering cross section is related to the phase shift. If we can measure the phase shift in this scattering, then we get the scattering cross section. And this is our theoretical value. You tally it with the experimental measured result. If your data matches, the theoretical data matches quite well with the experiment, then you can say your theory is good. Now, the A-shaped scattering is isotropic. That means after scattering, all the neutrons will be distributed uniformly in all the directions. But for the higher part, because here no angular part is there, you see here no angular part. But as we go to the higher angular momentum states, the P1 cos theta, P2 cos theta, or the angular part will be there. Then it is angular dependence. Then you have to see at which energy, which angular momentum is more effective. Okay. Now therefore for all partial waves, if we consider that all partial wave scattering, there is a high energy scattering, then in that case the scattering cross section, this sigma L, will be equal to 4 pi into this factor 2L plus 1 will be here, the angular momentum dependence, by k square sine square delta L. If you consider say L equal to 2, then you have to find the L equal to 2 phase shifts and put L equal to 2 here and find the scattering cross section. So this is the scattering cross section, most important, the meeting ground between the theory and the experiment. The phase shift is not actually the experimentally measured quantity. Those phase shift which produces the current value of the scattering cross section, we regard it as the scattering phase shift experimental value. But in general, the phase shift is not a experimentally measurable quantity.